Hello and welcome to the third edition of Chase the Race 2016 on this all-important Super Tuesday. I'm Q, and tonight we are joined by our Envision student journalists Zachary, Crilley, and Abigail Kelly, who will bring us the youth point of view from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. and Super Tuesday State, Virginia. Tonight we'll hear highlights from Zach and Abigail's interviews with DNC and RNC insiders at their Washington, D.C. headquarters. We'll see a rally, meet some passionate voters, and find out what is so super about Super Tuesday. First, let's say hello to our Chase the Race reporters reporting live from the field.
Hi, I'm Abigail Kelly for Chase the Race, and I'm here on Capitol Hill for Super Tuesday. I'm really excited to interview all sorts of voters today. I'm here with fellow Chase the Race reporter Zach Crilley.
As Abigail said, we're here in Washington, D.C. to bring you Super Tuesday. I'm very excited to speak to young people and make sure that their voices are heard and to bring it to all of you. Now back to the studio.
Thanks, Zach. Looking forward to hearing what students and voters are talking about over there. Super Tuesday is a big day for candidates. The results have had a big impact on almost every election in the last 30 years. Earlier last week, our national Chase the Race journalist Charles Graham spoke to ABC News anchor George Stephanopoulos via Skype. George and Charles talked about the power that young voters have in this election.
The youth don't know what they're thinking when they're going for someone like a Senator Sanders. They haven't experienced the world. They haven't had real jobs yet. They haven't gone completely through college. Their brains haven't even stopped developing. So what makes them at all, good when it comes to choosing who our next president? Why should they even
That's putting it in pretty stark terms. I think we have 18-year-old vote for a reason. I'm not going to denigrate 18 to 29-year-old voters. I think part of, I can understand the appeal. I mean, I think that one of the things that Senator Sanders is doing very well is speaking to people's hopes and sense of possibility and sense of idealism and, tapping into that great line of Bobby Kennedy. Some people see things as they are and ask why, others dream things that never were and ask why not. I mean, and I think that, that when you're young, I can understand wanting to be part of a revolution. I do think that, people should be asking Sanders tough questions about whether he can achieve and how he can achieve what he's promising. But I understand why it's exciting just to be a part of something where the sights are set so high.
You can see more of George and Charles's interview in the gallery on our website. Go to chasetherace2016.com. I highly recommend it. Now let's catch up with our Super Tuesday field reporters.
We're at the Kasich rally, and I just have a few questions. We found a Hillary supporter. So, why are you here? Why did you come to the Kasich rally when you're supporting Secretary Clinton?
Well, I think it is pretty obvious that I do support Secretary Hillary Clinton, but I'm also a big politico, and I just love political discourse and being a part of political process, especially on Super Tuesday, one of the biggest political days in the country. And because I'm in the area and I go to the school here, I thought, what a great opportunity to hear from Governor Kasich, who actually agrees with Hillary on lots of things. They have similar stance on climate change. He doesn't deny climate change. And he's at least in some way supportive of gay rights and a lot of those social issues that Hillary goes towards as well. So I think on some things they agree, but I support Hillary mainly because of her international experience. I have a background in international affairs, and I think the United States needs a president that really, that the globe can respect, that other leaders can respect. Because just today, Governor Kasich unfortunately said we should redraw the borders in the Middle East, which I thought was, a terrible thing for somebody running for president to say. That's basically imperialism, and it doesn't work. You can't do that. So there's certain experience he has that I appreciate, him being a governor and getting to hear from, but I support Hillary because of her international experience.
Why do you think it's important for young people to, support, come out and support any of the candidates?
The youth vote is always extremely important because it's usually very varied and diverse, depending on where you are in the country, and it's always, every single election, it's a huge untapped market. A lot of young people feel disenfranchised from the political system. They don't feel specifically spoken to. And there was a boy here today who was 15 years old and asked the governor, about what he's doing for the youth vote. And he hemmed and hawed, and he kind of, it's hard for them to answer that question. A lot of people get, distance away from the youth vote. which is incredible that Bernie Sanders is doing so well with the youth vote and being one of the oldest candidates. But it's important to get involved in politics as early as possible and to be a part of the system. We all have a voice, and we all should use our voice.
What's this journalism student want to ask?
My name is Zach Crilley. I'm 15 years old. I was wondering, what issues do you think are important to youth, and what are you doing to differ yourself from the other candidates?
You know, when somebody ever asks you, what are you doing different yourself from somebody else, you know what you ought to say? I'm me. And either I work or I don't, okay? Now, let me tell you that there's a lot of issues that you are concerned about. One of them is the environment. Do you believe that there's global warming? I happen to think there is. And do I think there's climate change caused by humans? Yeah, I don't know to what degree, but I do know that we need to develop renewables and wind and solar and battery technology and hydrogen and fuel cells. And you know, the world's going to look so different whenever we get battery technology. And you know, they tell me they're going to have a low-priced Tesla. Maybe you can afford that, Shays. I don't know, but it's pretty cool. It's a changing thing. Let me tell you another thing. Where is it? How could I not have one person? Oh, I knew there'd be one. Give me that thing, okay? You see this? About 5 years ago, my daughters and I were in Florida, and they said to me, Daddy, what's that box over there? You girls don't remember, but it happened. What is that box over there? I said, what box? And I'm looking, I said, oh, okay, that's where Superman changes his clothes. And by the way, your mom and dad used to put coins in that thing to make a phone call. And the girls said, no way, no way. The constantly connected consumer, transportation, medicine, everything is changing at the speed of light, except for one thing, government. Now, when businesses, we don't have my debt clock in here, but when businesses, when they don't change, you know what happens to them, young man? They die. You know what happens when government doesn't change? You pay a big bill for the rest of your life. So we need to Uberize the government. We need to make it smaller. We need to get it to where you live, okay? Now let me tell you one other thing. Did you hear what, I get more phones this way, it's great. But did you hear what I said about you're made special? You go change the world. Whatever world you live in. Now you're 15 years old.
Correct.
There was a kid that I met the other day, can't remember what state, I think it was in South Carolina. He was 7 years old and raised $1,600 standing outside of his house selling something to give to a police officer who got sick. That kid changed the world at the age of 7. I mean, so we have to figure out how we're going to take things into our own hands. When I was a kid, living in a blue-collar town outside of Pittsburgh, where my father carried mail, and my mother was, you know, had an opinion of everything, and really was smart but undereducated. In that little town, we didn't wait for the President of the United States to come fix us. Our hero was Roberto Clemente, the great baseball player. We didn't care about, well, that's my point. You see, I think that America's challenged on two fronts. One is we don't have the leaders who are being able to raise the performance of the people they work with. I mean, I've seen it in Ohio. I saw it when I was in Washington for those magic years. Few of them, till it all drifted away. But we need to have the leaders that can raise our game. And I want you to read about Winston Churchill and how people told him he was crazy. But at the end of the day, he saved them by getting them to raise their own personal lives to a higher level. But that's only one part of the equation. The spirit of our country doesn't rest in a president, or in a White House, or in a Congress on Capitol Hill. The spirit of our country rests in our neighborhoods, in our families, in our communities. And so many of us have thought, it's not my job anymore to do anything. You know, but it is our jobs. If you're a teacher, you sacrifice pay, and you change kids' lives. If you're a nurse, you go back into the room at 10:30 when you're drop dead tired to tell a family it's going to be okay. If you're a doctor, you make a phone call at 12:30 in the morning because you just can't sleep because you've got to call that guy or that woman with the results. And you know what? Sometimes you just call a woman who has been married for 52 years, who lost her husband, and you call her on Monday and say, we're going out to dinner on Saturday. We're going to take you out to dinner. Our family's going to invite you along. And on Thursday, she's at the beauty parlor. And on Saturday, she puts on a dress she hasn't worn in 6 months. That's how we revive the spirit of our country. We do.
Today, our reporters met with Sean Spicer, Chief Strategist and Communications Director for the Republican National Committee. He shares his thoughts on issues and ongoing drama as voters select the Republican Party presidential nominee.
Hi, this is Zach Crilley for Chase the Race. I'm here live at the RNC. I'm with Mr. Sean Spicer, the head strategist. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do here?
Oh, welcome. I oversee all the communications efforts here, our strategy, what we communicate out about our party, our candidates, as well as what we want people to know about what the Democrats' record is. So we kind of do a little bit on their side, a little bit on our side. I oversee all of the messaging and where the long-term planning is where we want to be as a party.
Why do you think it's important for students and young people to be involved in politics?
Well, look, I think regardless, again, of whatever party you want, politicians understand that voters are who matter. If you don't vote, the level of interest and concern about you is not there. I mean, there's a reason that older Americans' issues are first and forefront. They have the highest percentage of voting. And I think young people have a lot of issues that should be concerning to them. And again, I mentioned a few a moment ago, but I mean the economy, jobs, student loan, the amount of debt that we're piling up. We now have $19 trillion of debt. Somebody's going to have to pay for that at some point. And I think the odds of old people paying for it are relatively unlikely. The younger you are, the more likely that you're going to have to pay for that. We've got entitlement programs like Social Security, Medicare that are going bankrupt. And that at some point, either the benefits aren't going to be there for younger Americans or the system's going to go bankrupt, or you're going to have to bail it out, but it's one of those three. And I think that young people, the more that they're engaged, the more that their voice is heard in that process.
How do you think students can become more involved in the political process?
Well, I think there are more tools now than ever. I mean, I think it's everything from volunteering to tweeting to posting stuff on Facebook. Being involved in the process, having your voice heard, has never been easier. And I think that you're seeing that a lot of younger Americans are getting involved. And I think that's a good thing.
We also had the chance to sit down with Mark Postenbach, National Press Secretary for the Democratic National Committee. Mark talks about the role the DNC plays in the election process, shares his thoughts on the Democratic candidates, and no matter who you're voting for, why the youth voice is so important in the election.
So what are some possible outcomes of today, Super Tuesday?
One of the things to watch for, I guess this is the most important thing, is to look at momentum. Presidential primaries can be very fast-paced and packed in, right? So you've got Iowa, you have New Hampshire, you have South Carolina, you have Nevada, and what you see are people winning some of these states, and if they can catch fire, then it sometimes can be very tough for them to be caught, for someone to catch up. And so what you'll see are people, as part of the primary and caucus system, they're winning delegates at every step of the way. And they can start amassing a lead that is hard to meet. But I do think Democrats are you'll see both candidates really getting people excited. We've only had two candidates for the past couple of states, and every time that they've been on the ballot, they've gotten nearly as many votes together as the Republicans have, and they've had, more than a dozen at one point, and now they're down to about a half dozen candidates. And we've seen turnout be incredibly strong among Democrats. So those are the things I would look for. And I think looking at both Secretary of State Clinton as well as Senator Sanders, Each of them, in terms of young people, have a record of dealing with issues that are important to them. Senator Clinton has worked her whole life on advocacy efforts to help children. She did that right after law school. And Senator Sanders has also focused, for example, as we said before, on college affordability and other issues that they care about. And you've seen a real palpable response to both of those candidates. So I'm optimistic and I'm hopeful, and I think that you'll continue to see a lot of enthusiasm and support on the Democratic side.
The economy is always a hot topic during elections, but why should it matter to you? National Chase the Race journalist Charles Graham caught up with former U.S. Comptroller General Dave Walker. A 20-plus year career worth of insights and stories, Mr. Walker has some specific advice for future generations and young voters like us.
So I'm sad to admit that a lot of voters my age know very little when it comes to the economy and economic policy as a whole. So what financial issues do you believe young voters specifically should know about?
Well, first, I think that all young people need to understand something about financial literacy. How do they manage their own finances? And unfortunately, I don't think our country does a very good job of teaching people that. It also doesn't do a very good job of teaching young people about civic responsibility. What's their responsibility as citizens in this great republic? But beyond that, they need to understand how our nation, state, and local government's finances are being managed. Because in all too many cases, there is too much spending, too much debt that is being passed on to younger generations. And therefore, they have very much a vested interest in being informed and involved, because they're the ones that are going to have to pay the price. They're the ones that are going to have to bear the burdens of the decisions that are being made by others today. And that's one of the reasons I'm in the fight, because I believe in stewardship. I'm concerned about my kids. I'm concerned about my grandkids. And I want to try to make sure that they have an opportunity for a better life, just as the opportunity that I had.
No doubt a sound economic policy is important, but I didn't realize it might be the most important issue facing our next president. You can see more of Dave Walker and Charles Graham's interview in the gallery at ChaseTheRace2016.com. Now, back to Virginia, where people have been voting all day. Our reporters are in Fairfax County, just outside Washington, D.C., and home to many federal employees, congressional staff, and government contractors. The race is pretty exciting. Tell us what the mood is like in Virginia.
And I'm here with Sarah. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing here?
I'm the precinct captain of the Merrifield precinct. We are here set up with the booth outside the polling today to just greet people, get some voter feedback, and find out if anybody wants to volunteer to be a part of the Fairfax County Democrats.
Okay. And how big of a turnout have you seen today?
Very big, especially this morning. Everybody wanted to come before they went to work. One of the things that I like about working here in Fairfax County is how civil and respectful everybody is. Even the people of the other parties are very appreciative and friendly.
Are you hoping to kind of persuade people as they walk in, or more just kind of get a general feel of how people are voting?
It's not so much persuade. We want to find people who already have energy and are interested in volunteering. We're not necessarily trying to recruit so much as just take advantage of the energy that's already there. So it's more just getting feedback from people and helping to direct people that want to help.
Okay. And what results are you expecting from the Super Tuesday?
It looks online like it's going to be a close race in Virginia between Trump and Rubio. And it looks like Hillary's probably going to defeat Bernie pretty soundly here. But you wouldn't know from the support, because we've had support from all the different candidates. People talking about them all here. So
it's pretty awesome to see democracy at work. And while there's a lot of focus on Super Tuesday, there's also a lot of excitement on the ground ahead of time, too. We captured that excitement yesterday outside a Hillary Clinton rally. Let's hear from several attendees we spoke to who don't all share the same views of this quite polarizing candidate.
It's probably the biggest day of the primary elections, and so it's a little bit of a coincidence that there's also a Hillary event going on, but we're just out here the day before the election trying to remind everybody to go out and vote.
Yeah, I'm like one of the people who are not sure if I'm going to vote, but I know that's so bad. I just feel like I don't tell middle schoolers that. I know, okay. I know, because I really do, but I don't know, like I feel like you have to make a really informed decision on who you're voting for, and I haven't paid attention, like at all, which is not good, and you think you should, especially when you're deciding something really important. but I would definitely vote for that if we're voting when it comes down to it.
I'm one of those people who I really like Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. I'm one of those like fence sitters right now, and I think she might have won me over a little bit.
So far, in terms of the Republicans, there aren't many great people. Trump would be good if he would play nice a little more. Rubio would be better if he would actually play a little more aggressively. And but when it comes between Hillary and Bernie, I would take Bernie over Hillary because Hillary just has a horrendous track record.
To me, the biggest issue that I see is the problem with corporate elite and the money that is in the political system right now.
About the rights for women, she's fighting for that. So and I extremely support that.
I think it's just really important that women have their rights and that women are able to vote and women are able to feel empowered by the people they're electing and not disenfranchised.
It's great to hear from so many passionate young voters. And while we're all watching the polls and predicting results, let's first find out why Super Tuesday matters so much.
One of the reasons why Super Tuesday is so super is because of the impact that Super Tuesday has played in past elections. Super Tuesday first officially began in 1980. So we've had 9 presidential elections that have seen Super Tuesday come and go. We're actually on our 10th Super Tuesday today. What is fascinating is when you look at how Super Tuesday has impacted the races those last 9 years, you'll notice that on the Republican side, 7 of the 9 candidates that won Super Tuesday became the candidate for their party. Same thing on the Democratic side, 7 of 9 became the candidate for the party. So to win Super Tuesday, well, it's pretty important. If you don't win Super Tuesday, history is against you.
In the race to become President of the United States, or POTUS as many of us kids call it, the outcome of Super Tuesday can translate into commanding leads or epic failures for candidates. It's amazing to watch and even more amazing to be a part of. Now let's get some final thoughts from Zach and Abigail as they join the nation watching the numbers roll in.
So we started off the day at the DNC, and we got to talk to the head of the press there. So that was very interesting to get his point of view. And then from there we went over to the RNC and got kind of the other side of the view. And then we have gone to 2 voting precincts now, and that has been very interesting. And we got to see a rally in full swing. So I would say that my favorite part was definitely the rally, because it was a lot of energy and a lot of people kind of packed in a room for the same cause. So that was very interesting.
I agree. The rally was my favorite part. I've never been to a rally, and so going to the Governor Kasich one was really interesting, and it was exciting, and Zach got to ask a question. So he's famous now, so I thought it was really fun.
Thanks so much, Zach and Abigail. This has been an amazing day of insights, information, and great interviews from the Super Tuesday events. If you are an Envisionary or a next-gen leader who wants to be heard and play a role in history, don't miss the Envision Impact Series Presidential Inaugural Leadership Summit. Attendees will see their inauguration, hear from amazing speakers like Malala, and work to discover solutions to the issues facing our next president and our generation. More information is available at envisionexperience.com. Right now, our reporters are at an election watch party at the Arlington Democratic Party HQ. What's happening, guys?
And we're at a watch party, and the polls are coming in, and there's a lot of people here, and there's even a lot of film crews here. So luckily, I'm getting to interview a Danish TV, Stina. So what have you seen today?
Well, this is Super Tuesday, so it's one of the most important days in the primaries. We have a lot of delegates up for grabs. So I've been here in Virginia, which is one of the swing states, and it's been interesting to see. I've, for instance, talked with Democrats who have considered voting for Republicans to vote against Trump. So you get to see all these things playing out that you don't know about before you talk to voters. So that's been very interesting.
So why is this important internationally? Like, you're with the Danish TV, so why is this important internationally?
It's a good question. I mean, we are covering this all night and then this morning too, if you can believe it. I think, the U.S. is the biggest country, a very, powerful nation, and we all just very interested in what happens over here. I think in 2008, with President Obama winning, that really connected with a lot of people in Europe, and I think after that, people are just very interested. And now with someone like Donald Trump rising, it also makes for good TV. It's quite a crazy story.
And so, what do you think a good outcome is for tonight?
Well, that depends very much on, what party I guess you belong to. But I guess a good outcome is also that we have a lot of voters mobilized. And I think that's actually what's happening on both sides of the parties. We've had, I don't know if you can call Bernie Sanders an outsider, but at least an unusual candidate who've mobilized a lot of new Democratic voters, a lot of young people, and the same with Donald Trump. We can all say that, well, it's only white, angry men who votes for him. It's actually not true. He's mobilizing a lot of different people and winning broadly. So I think, democratically speaking, that's very good.
Great. So it's great to interview. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Zach.
I'm here with Jamie, who's a Virginia voter. Jamie, this is your first time voting in a swing state. How does it feel, and how does it differ from voting in a state that typically leans to the left?
It's completely different. I'm born and raised in New York City, and that's a very solid Democratic area. Here in Virginia, it's obviously a swing state, tends Republican, but here you really have an impact. You know that what you vote will make a difference.
And what brought you out to the polls today?
Well, it's super exciting. I was here during Obama's inauguration. I was in school, and it was just so much hope, so much opportunity, very exciting. And obviously everyone's seeing what's going on in the polls. People see what's going on with Donald Trump. It's a whole different kind of election. And now there's such a chance to make a difference. Obviously, Scalia passed away. Whoever's going to be voted in is going to have a real opportunity to change things, really kind of impact the nation for years to come.
And what issues do you think are important, especially in this election cycle?
Well, clearly, certainly on the Republican side, there's a lot of anger, animosity. People are real enamored with Trump, and he has a lot of excitement, entertainment to share. But to me, the most important are the social issues and the economy. I mean, the economy drives everything. It's going to really influence where the country goes and what we can do and what kind of opportunities we have.
What do you hope that the country looks like in 4 years due to this election cycle?
Well, I tend Democratic, and I'm definitely a Hillary supporter. I hope that she's able to get elected and continue a lot of what Obama stood for and a lot of the change. It is completely mind-blowing that first you have an African-American elected, not once, but twice, and then we follow that up with a woman getting elected. This is unheard of. I mean, my niece doesn't even know what this country was, and now she's going to grow up with this whole idea that it's perfectly natural. A woman can be elected president and change the world.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to bring it back to Abby here.
And so with the polls we've seen tonight, Trump is doing really well, and like he has been recently. And on the Democratic side, Secretary Clinton is doing really well again. One of the workers here, one of the people for the watch party here, asked people who they're really for, and a lot of people said Secretary Clinton. So it's reflected in the polls. I'm really excited about all of this, and all the energy here is really fun, and I'm just really, excited that this is all happening, live, right, and I get to see what's going on.
So, as Abby said, we're here at a Democratic watch party, and there's a lot of young energy. When they announced that Hillary Clinton won Virginia and Georgia, they went absolutely nuts and started screaming. So it's really interesting to see the young people in action, coming together for politics, which is really interesting. Kind of an update on the polls here. Texas and Virginia are still too close to call for the Republican side, but Trump and Hillary Clinton are having a great night on the whole. So make sure to follow up with us online at ChaseTheRace2016.com. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Chase the Race. We hope you will join us next time, and don't forget to check out the full story plus additional content, pictures, blogs, streaming video at ChaseTheRace2016.com.